Yeah. So in this video, we'll see what are data structures, and we'll see with the first data structure. So what do you understand by data structures? Name one data structure. So there is some structuring of data. Why do we need data structuring? It's like easy storing of data. It eases the storing of data. It eases the retrieval of data. Okay. So you could use it easily. So that's why there are some structures for while storing data. So what are these structures? So as we have different use cases, so we use different data structures for that, whichever is better suitable for the situation or the use case. Okay. So our first data structure would be list. Okay, it's list. So, the one more question that we should answer is, why do we need data structures? Because why not use normal things, like we could say variables? We have variables, right? Why to use some other data structure? We can store data in variables. We can retrieve data in variables, and we can easily use variables, right? So why is the need of other data structures? So the reason would be like, for take example, take Facebook. So maybe there are maybe 4 billion or 3 to 4 billion users, maybe near to 3 billion active users. So we need, if we want to save this data, if we want to save this data, save the data of the users who are actively using Facebook. So maybe let's take 1 billion users. So 1 billion users have their name, have their uh, age, birth date, gender, a profile pic. So do will we the most obvious question is, we need to store this data. So will we store it in variables? So would we make 1 billion variables, 1 billion variables, or for 1 billion variables for name, 1 billion variables for age, 1 billion variables for, like, so on. So that's why we need something that we can group data into. So that's where the list comes. Okay. So list, or you could call it array in other programming languages. So lists are used to store multiple items in a single variable. So there would be one variable, but it will store multiple values. So in this way, there are like four data structures in Python. So another is tuple, then set, and then dictionary. So in this way, we'll go with everything. So we'll see how to make one, how to make one list, or everything. How to indexing. We'll see adding, removing, indexing, and maybe in that only we could also see slicing. We'll see all this. Will all these concepts in every data structure. Okay. So I'll go to my normal first.py. I'll open my prompt. Yeah, until it opens. Okay. So list. How do we create list? So how do we make one list? So we'll have the convention. Uh, Convention would be variable name. Okay, variable name will be equal to uh, square brackets. Okay, square brackets in which the data will reside. Okay, this would be the convention to declare a list in Python. So for example, if we'll take username. Okay, equals to username equals to, so one could be Henry, so and another could be Elizabeth. Okay, and another one could be Allison. Okay, so these are all the different names that we could use that we could store in a single variable. Okay, in a single variable. So I could have a single variable called username, and all the users of a service will be stored over here. Okay, I think this is a spelling wrong. Let's not see that. Okay, so the username. So in the same way, I could also make another list where it will save gender, user gender. Okay, so Henry is male, and Elizabeth is female, and Allison is also female. So in this way, I could whenever I want information of the user Henry, I'll see in username he resides in the first place, and I'll check for every other list where he will reside. Okay, so I'll get the same name, same gender of that same user by also calling this list where with the same position. So we'll see how we'll do all those things. We call it indexing. Okay. So there are some properties to list. Okay, there are some properties to list, as we could say. It will always be ordered. So it's like 0, 1, sorry, 0, 1, then 2. So in this way it is always ordered, and whenever we'll add and some data na, so it will always add it to the end of the data, or we could say appending. It will add to the end part of the data. Okay, end part of the list. Second property is changeable. We can change the data. It means we can add data, we could remove data, we can also in the same way we can update data somewhere. Okay. And the other property is like it will allow duplicates. So if I'll take one more Henry, so it will allow this. Okay, there are some data structures which will not allow this. Okay, that's why there's an distinction. Yeah, list allows duplicates. Okay. Yeah. So now what we'll do, we'll start with the coding part. So we have two Nick. I'll add one more entry. Okay. We have two list, or we could call array. So what if we want to know the length of the array? So these are only four things. Okay, there are only four elements. What if there were 1 billion elements? Would we like go and see and check for, yeah, this is one, two, three, four? No, no, it's a very bad form of doing things. So we could automate that thing. Like, how could we do that? Is we could use something like inbuilt function of Python, which is length. Okay, so print will print what? Length of username. So it will take the parameter an array, and whenever we'll run this, na, whenever we'll run this, um, sorry, let me just open containing folder. Yeah, in the desktop only. So yeah, so whenever we'll run this Python first dot see 4. It's giving us the length of 4. So how many elements are there? 1, 2, 3, and 4. If it were more? So it will give us the length, whatever the uh, length would be of that array, using easy length function. Okay, this is how we can know length of the array. Okay, and this will also be used in, this function can be used anywhere, wherever we could iterate over a data type, iterate over a variable, we could use this length function. Okay, we'll be using a lot. Then what are the data types that it could hold? So in the same way, this is holding the data type of string. In the same way, we could have user age. So it could hold integers. So like 18, then 20, then 22, then 25. Okay, it can also hold integers. In the same way, it could also hold, let's see, we could, if we could change it to 15, and we'll change this to uh, 16. Yeah. So what if we say user is adult or not? User adult. So in this we could say what if we have a condition that if the user's age is greater than or equal to 18, then only is an adult. So what we could do, we'll see 18 is greater than equal to 18. So yeah, it's equal to. So we'll have true. So we could also store boolean. 16 no. So we will store false. So 22 true, 15 false. In the same. Okay. So in this way we can also store boolean uh, data type in the list. Okay, and we could also make all the things uh, in the same list also. That's also possible. Like we could have user scramble, maybe whatever. Like I'm just making a temp. Okay, in this I'll have Henry. Okay, we could do one thing. What we could do, we could make a single list for a single user. So use user Henry. Okay, user Henry equals to first he will have his name, take a Henry. Then he'll have the gender, male. Then he'll have the age. Then he'll have is adult. See. So in the same list, we could also have all the data types in a single list. This is also possible. So in the same, this is what are possibilities while using data types in Python. So in Python this is possible, but most of the in other languages, like, it's not possible. You could only have one data type in a single list, but in Python this is possible, so it's nice to have. Okay, now whenever we want to see what is the type of something, so we always check, like, we always use the built-in function called type. So if we'll see username and save the code, see, it's giving us a class of list. Okay. Yeah. So now what we could do is now move on to the next part, where we'll do some indexing right now. Okay. So we have made the list. Now how we could use it. Okay. How we could use the data. Okay. So it was easy in variables. Variable had like var equals to 20, and we could just print var. Okay, print var with no complication, because sorry, print var. So it didn't add multiple data. We could directly print the name of the variable, and we'll get. In the same way, we could do this if we'll do it over here now. Print username. Username. Okay, I'll just use username, and if I'll print it, so it's giving me the whole data. Okay, it's giving me the whole list, but I don't want the whole list. What if I only want Allison or Elizabeth or Nick or Henry? So let's go. If I want what I want, it's like I want Henry. So I'll add the square brackets next to the name variable name, and I'll add 0. Okay, so we are doing what are we doing here? It's called indexing. We are indexing the data. Okay, indexing the data by giving the position of that data. So see, now it's only giving us Henry. Okay, first it was giving us the whole list, but now it's only giving us Henry. In the same way, I could go for 2, which would be Allison, and it will only give Allison this time. Okay, so yeah, so in this way we could access or index the data. Okay, we could also do because it would be like the list would be like 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we can also do in backwards. So this would be -1, -2, -3, -4. So if I want the nick element, okay, I will just do -1 in indexing, and I'll get nick. So, okay, these are called positive indexes, and others are called negative indexes. When we use positive indexing, going from right to left, sorry, left to right, and when we use negative indexing, we go from right to left. So, okay, from last to start. So in this way we can do indexing. Okay. Now we can do also something called slicing, or you could also call it doing indexing a range of indexes. So what if I want from Henry? I want it from Henry to Allison, but I don't want Nick. Okay, but I don't want Nick. What I could do? I could do 0, then I'll print this, and then I'll go, and again I'll print it, and I'll go for 1, then 2. Okay, in this way I'll get, if I'll do this, okay, and I'll add, so I'll get it. But this is not a, in this way I can't do it for, if maybe 1,000 words. Okay, I can't do that for 1,000 print statements. What we could do is we could do some range of indexes. So if I want from Henry to Allison, what I'll do, 0, then a colon. Okay, so okay, then I'll go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3. So okay, 3. Let's see if 3, and if I'll run it, this is Henry, Elizabeth, and Allison. It didn't give me Nick. Why? Because the indexing, this is inclusive and this is exclusive. This will include this and this will exclude this. So it will include 0, 1, 2, and 3 will be excluded. Okay. If I had just added, like, I want till Allison now. So if I added till 2 only, now if Allison is 2, what it will do, it will not give me Allison, because the next indexing is exclusion. So that's why we have to always add it by +1. Okay. So we get it Allison also. In the same way, we could do, like, if you don't want like some indexing from the start and you want it from the start, you could just remove the 0 and it will take it from 0 only. Okay, in the same way, if I'll remove 3 and if I'll see, I'll from 2, okay, from Allison, and I from till end, I want it till end, so I'll not add any next index, and see, Allison and Nick. So second, Allison is given, and last was Nick. So it was given to me. So if I'll change it to 1, so it will give us from Elizabeth, Allison, and Nick. Okay. In this way, we could do indexing. Okay. We can index it. In the same way, we could use positive indexes also. We could use negative indexes also. Okay. Yeah. So now we could, like, what we'll do, we'll change the values. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll change values. Okay, I'll take username Henry. I'll index it by 0 and I'll change it to maybe JSON. Okay, and it to JSON. So yeah. Now when I'll print username list, I'll get Jason, Elizabeth, Allison, and Nick. See, so we can also manipulate the data in the same way, just like we are declaring any variable, but just in list we get this indexing part suffix to the variable name. Okay, so in this way you could change it, and in the same way we could also insert. Okay, what if I have this? Okay, I have this list and I want to insert in between. What will I do? So now there are some functions that will see methods that we could use. Okay, like first would be insert. Okay, insert will take index to where to insert. So 0, 1, let's say I have to insert it after 1. So 2. Okay, an object would be what I want to insert. So I'll add one more user, like Stevie. Okay, Stevie. And if I'll print now username, see, Henry, Elizabeth, Stevie, Allison, and Nick. Before it was only, so over here I only have Henry, Elizabeth, Allison, and Nick, but I have inserted at the second place, which is 0, 1, and 2. After Elizabeth and before Allison, Stevie, and I have printed the list, then in this way it's giving us. Okay, so in the same, this is the function that we could use for inserting in middle of the list. Okay, what if we want to do at the end of the list. So what we could do, we could give it like three. Okay, we could give it like three, but these conditions is like we have to know the last element. Okay, so what if we don't know the last length of the last element? What we could do is we could remove this insert, and I'll use one other function called append. Okay, and when I'll run it, so now you could see Henry, Elizabeth, Allison, Nick, and Stevie. Before Stevie was at the second place, but when I appended it, it will always go to the last part of the list. So appending is, there's a difference between inserting and appending. Inserting is like inserting a data in between of a list, and appending will always be adding data at the end of the list. Okay, so in this way, we could insert and append data. Okay, so what we could do is like we could also add two different uh, list. So what if I wanted like username should get extended with gender also. Okay, user gender. When I'll run, it got extended with my user gender list also. Okay, in the same way, so you could go on and check for other, like in the same way there are many functions that you could perform on the list, so you could go and check on. So now, in the same way, just like we can add data, we can also remove data. So we could remove function using remove function, and if I'll take the what I want to remove, so I'll give it Henry, and whenever I'll run it, so Henry would not be there in the username. Okay, so you could remove this, and you could also remove it by an index. Okay, you could also remove it by this removes by value. So this is a value, right? And index is 0. So this removes by using value. We could also remove it by index. So pop 0. See, pop 0. So it removed by index. So in the same way, you could do it whenever you want. You have the index, you can remove it by index, and whenever you have the value, you can remove it by value. And you could clear the list also. What you could do is you can remove all the data from the list, and you can make it an empty list after. So see, dot clear is the function that we could use. Okay, so this was like the most basic list, you could see, list usage. Uh, and there are many more things, adding data, like index. We saw adding data, indexing data, removing data, what data types are allowed, and how could we append data and insert data. So in this way, you could go on for checking for documentation for more function that you could run on a list. And okay, so in the next video, we'll see the next data structure.